good morning to you too, my friend. Do you want to tell everybody what you're up to, or should I? All right, I'll tell them. We got a text first thing in the morning from your friend who watches you when I go out of town. They said, one of Ja's friends that we went and had brunch with while you were gone on one of your trips asked if Ja could come and join us for brunch today. Is it possible for Ja to come to brunch? So you're going to have brunch. I'm not even invited, but you're invited. Daze with Jordan the Lion, and you leaving begins now. When am I going to turn off the camera, Ja? When am I going to turn it off? All right, now that Ja's gone, those of you who are still left, I know some of you are like, oh, Ja's out of here? I'm not watching anymore. Flip. Those of you who stuck around, we're going to have a great day, because what we're going to do today is, well, we're starting the day by going out to lunch with JOANNA CASSIDY and Scott Michaels. JOANNA was in my vlog about Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. She plays Rose. I'm right on top of that, Rose. She has a topic that she wants to know about. She said to me, do you know anything about this? And I said, I don't know anything, but I know one person that might. I texted Scott, and he was actually working on a YouTube video about it at the time. She is dying to meet Scott, so today we're gonna make that happen. And then afterward, I'm gonna sit down and interview Scott with you guys and kind of find out what Scott's been up to for the last year. His life has significantly changed. I think this will be a great day, so let's head out to the restaurant. So here we are having a little bit of lunch, JOANNA and Scott over here. And kind of what's funny is if you watch Scott's YouTube channel, Scott made a video on a woman called the Lava Woman, and the day that JOANNA and I were sitting here talking about the Lava Woman, she asked me if I knew anything. I said, no, I really don't, but I have one friend that might, and I texted Scott, and of course he was working on a video that day, so we all had to get together and hang out.
Talk about synchronicity.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was amazing. I talked about it, you had the friend, you called him, we're sitting here at lunch right now. That's pretty genius.
Yeah, yes it is.
I love that.
Everything sort of about synchronicity.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so it's post-lunch, and how was your lunch with JOANNA? Scott, this was your first time meeting JOANNA. Pretty interesting lady, right?
She's very interesting. Yeah, I look forward to possibly picking her brain some more about Hollywood. But no, that was a lot of fun. What a nice lady.
She wants us to come over and have a meal with her because she was sharing some pretty interesting stories about her days roller skating with Ringo Starr, and said, come on over, I'll share some more great stories with you. But she wanted to meet you so bad that I had to make this happen. But I want something out of this. I want to talk to you. Now, I just want to do like a year in review with you, Scott, because when I met you, you were running Dearly Departed Museum and tours. You were doing tours through the week, running a whole museum. You had some of the most interesting artifacts in Hollywood. Now you don't do either of those things. And this time last year, you would never have probably guessed that. There was talk of you maybe closing the museum, but nothing was definitive. What's life like now for you? Like, how has it changed?
It's just bizarre. When Troy and I decided to close the museum, it was like in December of last year, and it was like the hardest decision we made to close it down.
How long had you had it?
Well, the tour is 16 years. The museum, we started on Sunset. We were there for about 5 years, and then when we got bigger, we moved down to Santa Monica Boulevard. So we were in that location for only 3 years, and
that's a lot of time.
It was, and I was really proud of it. It just, Hollywood, the sort of the vibe started turning, and we just realized that it wasn't sort of, I don't know, it didn't feel like home anymore. So we decided to see what happened and put everything in storage, close our museum, and concentrate on just doing tours. And it's just sort of interesting that the day we shut it down was the next day was COVID lockdown. So we dodged the bullet there. Right,
you would have been stuck with a rent payment for the space. You would have had employees that you had to look after. I mean, you had a lot in there. Plus, as we saw in the news, literally 2 or 3 days after, we saw people protesting and vandalizing right in front of your very shop, walking right by. If things would have been in the window, no question, I think people would have broken in.
Yeah, it was
like almost divine intervention. I mean, it's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah, my folks were looking out after me. You know, it's weird because 5 years ago I had both my folks on my dog and my career, and it's sort of boom, you know, it's all done. And you know, we toyed with the idea of closing and maybe moving on and going elsewhere, and it's sort of we've been invited to leave now. You know, it's an interesting position to be in.
Now, I might be like alone in this, but I always say that like there's a reason that everything happens. I always feel like there is a good reason. Now, you made the decision, you and Troy decided to close the museum before any of this ever happened, but look at what a blessing it kind of was, because I remember when you first told me you were going to close the museum, I mentioned to you, I said, I thought maybe you should consider doing some YouTube, because one of the things that always stuck out in my mind was when I was in Marfa, Texas, and I was there taking photographs and sending you photographs of the windmill that James Dean had climbed in Giant. I remember your response was, "You're living my dream life." And I remember thinking, well, why shouldn't you be too? Like, why can't you? And when you started closing everything down, you knew that that wasn't going to be, you know, kind of an anchor. I hate to say maybe for lack of a better term, but the museum was something that made you not be able to leave here.
Yeah.
Now you have kind of a freedom, and you've been on YouTube making videos, because thank God now that's really all you can do. You can't do the tours, can you?
No, tour. I mean, we got to the point, I believe, where we could start doing private tours. Only, you know, one transaction, one group of people, not.
But not ideal for what you do, and the rent for the vans and the.
No, we're still paying for the vans. We still have to pay the insurance. We still have to do all that business, even though the vans haven't moved a mile since March. But it's still something that, you know, we have to keep active if we ever want to open up again. So, yeah, there's nobody coming around saying, it's okay now, you can do this.
Right.
It's not like that. So we're just winging it and trying to be responsible, and to the point where I think we can start doing tours again. But again, it's going to have to be isolated groups of people. And
are you allowed to advertise? I mean, are you allowed to put that on your website, or is that something that you just kind of have to do through you somehow?
There's no one saying anything is okay or not okay.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just being responsible, and you know, it's sort of like Joanna was saying about, or you were saying about Keith, how you're doing these interactions with people while they're making movies, but the only people that can physically interact are the people that are together. So as long as the driver is responsible, you know, and covered up, the family is fine. You know,
okay.
Whoever this one single group is, you know, it's all fine. I just can't open it to the public and mix people. You know, keep the vans clean, etc. But
which probably makes it harder to fill the van to the capacity of what you're normally used to.
At this point, it would be really nice just to be able to pay the payments and the insurance, you know. But thankfully, you encouraged me to get into making videos. You know, I grew up in the '60s and the '70s. You know, computers didn't happen then. So to me, a virtual career is still something that I'm struggling with psychologically. It's awesome that people.
I know you were so worried when we started this. Like not to say you had too many questions, but I feel like you just, and I totally get it, but you were to a point where you're like, this is all so new, I feel like I should ask everything that I'm worried about. And I think, like, can I ask, is it easier than you thought, or is it harder than you thought?
It's
because tell people what you're basically doing on YouTube, if you don't mind.
Well, now I've sort of focused on. I started a website back in '96 called Find It That, '98, and it was chronicling the ends of people's lives. And I've sort of been putting that together online in videos, putting together stories about people that maybe you knew, but things about them you didn't know anything about, or you know, just sort of. My little profiles that I'm doing are the ends of people's lives so far. There'll be the occasional walking around Hollywood thing and showing people like I do in real life. But I've been putting together sort of like the ends of people's lives. That you know, the last two I did were on two of the victims of the Tate murders, Stephen Parent and Jay Seabird. A lot of people know them as black and white photos as victims. So I just went into their past and show where they lived and where they where they hung out.
Yeah,
Why
plus
they were there.
you did what attracted Joanna, like unknowingly, like we said, Joanna wanted to know about the lava woman, and I contacted you and you said, I'm working on something about her right now. Now that's what's interesting, is that you're going a little beyond, because you're doing kind of like what I love to do, is find the weirder, wackier, less known things, and it's kind of cool to see what kind of comments or what you're drawing people into. I mean, I always feel like, you know, everybody knows the Manson stuff. I mean, so you know what kind of comments you're going to get when you post those videos, but you don't know what kind of comments you're going to get when you talk about a woman that they called the lava woman here in Hollywood walking around.
Yeah, it's funny. Los Angeles is obsessed with itself, so you know these items are, you know, like Joanna was saying, you know, there's not a lot of people acknowledging these people because you just didn't think twice about it. There's that quirky character, you know, and wondering a little bit more. My friend Kimberly happened to have a photograph of her, and that got us on a roll, and we started talking about all the you know, the oddness of her and those quirky LA characters. There aren't any more left. And this was, you know, there's not a lot left to discover, as you well know.
Yeah.
Everything is mostly pretty much documented anymore. And so it's kind of fun when you hit on something that maybe a lot of people didn't know about, and I like that.
Well, every once in a while, somebody, like a podcast I listen to, they'll reference this crazy guy that had like a public access show or whatever that used to interview people, and as soon as they talk about it, I go, Skippy Low. That was one of Shelley's best friends. Like, and it's crazy when people talk about it, I go, I knew that guy. I saw him all the time. He was such one of those characters too. And I love that now, like, with everything being closed down, it's a lot of people, especially out here, it's hard to work, especially if you're in the entertainment industry. You've been able to. Are you enjoying being a YouTuber, or is it kind of like a necessary evil for now? How do you feel about that? I mean, can you see yourself traveling? If you made the money to do so, would you travel and make the kind of videos that you do now,
Sure,
other places, or do you want to anchor yourself somewhere?
It's, you know, you know, living in Los Angeles is difficult, especially the last year. It's become more, it's more, I don't know, there's a lot more stress in the air. You know, I'm tired of, you know, the 30-mile, 90-minute trek.
Right.
So, you know, I'm looking for a calmer, happier life. I'm 57, so it's different for me to go into a brand new career,
right,
and wrap my head around that. Sure, I'd love to travel around and do stuff like this. That sounds like an ideal existence, but I'm still wrapped around the physical of having to have a place to be, and, you know, my museum. And I figured that gave me some sort of legitimacy, and it did.
Yeah.
But you
might be amazed at the legitimacy you get from YouTube. I mean, they say it's the #1 job that kids in high school and junior high want for a career. So you might be amazed at how many people start recognizing you from your videos doing things on here.
You know, it's fun. I was in my 30s when the internet came out, so so it's still, you know, it's still a concept to me that having a virtual career is a real trip.
Now, what do you know, with kind of the way things are now and it being so expensive, are you thinking of staying or leaving? My friend Eric Singer was just on the previous vlog talking about how he's out of here. He bought a house in Vegas, and he feels like the state and the state of things in this state pushed him out.
It's really hard work to live here anymore, and I came here to celebrate Hollywood. I'm here because I love Hollywood.
Me too.
Love Southern California, but my love of Hollywood, or my Hollywood, is being torn down, and I'm tired of it being something I talk about all the time, because I don't want that to be, I don't want sadness, I don't want anger to be part of my everyday existence anymore. So, you know, I'm looking for a kinder, gentler life, and you know, I live in the thick of it. I live in Hollywood, so I'm not sure how far away I need to go to get less stress in my life. But I'd love to be chill. You know, I really would. I don't like to be upset, and so that's my goal. Is that, and it will probably take me to a different city. But we haven't. We're looking around. We'll say that.
Are there any kind of dream vlogs that you are thinking of making before you might make a decision to do something like that, that you have set in stone that I gotta do this at some point? Or are you just kind of going with the flow when you create things?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that, because like I was in Detroit and I was thinking, well, I was from Detroit. I've got a thing on Jay Sebring, because Jay's from Detroit originally. And that's a part of Jay that a lot of people don't know. You know, while I was
Which was
there,
great. You showed the streets he grew up on.
Yeah.
I think people like that. I know I do. I always wonder that. Where did they ride their bike? Where did they cross the street coming home from school?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I want to see that.
And then you know, when I was there, I did a ton of research. I did this like 25 years ago. You know, went to the library and got all the information on Houdini and his death in Detroit, because I grew up in that, I was born in that hospital. So Houdini, you know, was always an interest of mine. So when I was there, I did a lot of shooting. The Edmund Fitzgerald, I was obsessed when it happened. And I still have all my scrapbook with all my clippings in it. You know, so it's sort of weird, because I used to take photographs of graves and cemeteries. Well, the internet has made that all obsolete.
Yeah.
You know, it's
yeah.
like within a year, everything that I saved and clipped every obituary that I had filed in files is redundant anymore. So it's liberated a lot of space in my life. You know, now it's a matter of taking that and going somewhere else with it. It's easy for people now to do a couple of clicks and find this stuff. It wasn't that easy.
Right,
before.
right.
So it was very analog. Troy, that's a word that Troy taught me to use like that, and it's perfect for this. So it's difficult to wrap my head around all of this already being out there and trying to find a way to make it my own.
Okay, but I think this is where I can point out the beauty in your tours is what you bring to your channel. People can, and it's the same thing that people say I do. It's, you know, you can find the information anywhere. It's how you present it and how you tell a story that people are attracted to. And I think you tell a story unlike anyone else. So people may know a little bit about something, or they may know a lot, but they still want to hear you tell it, because there's just a flair that you have to that. You know, when you give tours, you bring the story, you paint a picture for people that I think not everyone does. And I think that's why I was so kind of adamant about telling you, hey, I know I don't like to tell people what to do, but I think you should consider doing this, because you have so many belongings and so many artifacts that you could tell stories for years about your things that you have in your museum. I mean, that you don't even need to go anywhere to vlog. Mm-hmm. And I think you do a better job in that regard than anyone else. So that's what I'm hoping that the world gets to see out of you, is just that storytelling and your love for what you're talking about when you tell it.
I guess I think that's a big part of what I'm struggling with, is that there is hardly any new information. There's no new information.
Yeah, sometimes
so
there isn't.
Oh, that's already been done. Somebody's done that. That's all been done. There's nothing else to learn about that, you know. So I guess it is a presentation thing that the people that do.
Plus, you got to remember, just because you know doesn't mean that everybody else read all those articles. Yeah. You know, I always remind myself that when I'm making videos, I have to say, just because I've shown this in a video before doesn't mean everybody saw that video. Mm-hmm. You know, not everybody knows. I'm constantly amazed things that I put in videos that I think are very common sense or very well-known things, and people say, I never heard that before. So there's always someone that doesn't know something. So that would be some advice I would give to you, is don't be so hard on yourself when making the videos. You're already making what people like. Just have as much fun with it as you can, the way you do when you're telling, you know, when you're doing your tours. Yeah. Because I think that's what people love about you. I think just you paint a picture better than other people do.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but yeah, this was just, I just want to see, because, you know, like I said, change is hard for everyone. Nobody likes to make change. This year, a lot of people were forced into change, but you made the choice before, and you, boy, talk about skin of your teeth. We were saying earlier, you turned in the keys the day that lockdown happened. Yeah. I mean, you had cleaned out the place. I mean, what better sign could it have been that you made a good decision? I think so. Go with it. I think you know, if I revisit you in a year from now, I would love to see what your impression is of YouTube. Should you stick with it, what you'll feel about it then.
We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting year ahead. I mean, the last 6 months have been mind-blowing. So it's we're being shoved into a different direction. Is that a bad thing? no. But like you said, change is I don't hate change, but being forced to make the changes is really something. You know, I guess I'm a headstrong person, and I always go against what I'm told to do.
Yeah,
which is how I ended up being here, actually.
Exactly.
So, but I you know, it's exciting. Most certainly is exciting, and I'd love to see more of the world and make that into you know, a career.
Awesome. What are you working on? Anything that you want to mention? I mean, this will be out like a month from now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, the next thing I think I'm looking at is the Florence Ballard story, of the Supremes. I've got a couple that are just sort of right there and ready to go. But the thing is, like with it's something that prompts it, because I like to take things back to things.
Yeah.
You know, like what really got me going on the Stephen Parent video, you know, the Manson, I hate that. The guy that was killed at the Tate House.
Yeah.
I found that record album from the shop he used to work at. It's like that clicked for me. It's like an artifact, and I could take it back. Having that clock radio that was just like his, and taking it and doing that trek like he did. Those are the magic things I love to do. Is the physical things that you can, you know, go back. Now Lucy, I just acquired the sink from Lucy's house that Lucy used to dye her hair red. You know,
that is classic.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like I should throw that in the back of my car and go back to Lucy's house.
That's great.
You know, so you know, back when Lucy's house was still there, or when it's still, you know, when I was younger, God, we used to do all kinds. I pried shutters off the door and stuff, and I got bricks from that wall that she climbed in the show. So you know, it was a different time. But now I have these things, and thank God I do. And now it's sort of fun taking it back to revisit their past. I love that.
Well, I hope you vlog stuff like that, because those are the things that, you know, the museums are in a lot of places are closed right now, and who knows? I mean, I'm seeing museums closing for good all over the place.
Yeah.
At least we could have virtual museums, and I think that's your collection can live on through videos should you let it, you know.
Yeah, I would still love to have a physical place that people, I want like a little stupid roadside museum, you know, come and see Jane Mansfield's car.
Yeah.
I would love that. I would love to retire that way, just sitting behind the counter and people coming in and just talking to them. That's what I loved about my museum on Santa Monica Boulevard, you know, people come in and just hanging out and showing, hey, isn't this cool, you know.
Yeah.
There's May's teeth over there, you know. That is wonderful. So yeah, it's a different thing, but it is fun. You can see I get a little bit amped up when it comes to certain things. The actual physical things and taking them back to revisit where they came from is really, I love doing that.
See, that's why I knew you'd love this platform. Well, we'll revisit you in the future, Scott. Anytime you ever want to come on here and talk about anything, you're more than welcome. But thank you for filling people in, because I know a lot of people are, you know, having a lot of change right now, and you're kind of a good example as to how you know, made something great out of what you love, and you're kind of going with it still, not letting it keep you down.
Making the turns with it. But I mean, honestly, you encouraged me, and you sort of, you mentored me, and I'm really grateful for that. And a lot of your fans find out about me through you, and you can tell on the comments and all my videos, they're like, I heard about you from Jordan. So it's awesome. It's really cool, and I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, my friend. Thank you for being on here, Scott.
Peace.
All right, my friends, we're going to call it a day. I hope you enjoyed getting a little update from Scott Michaels. Everyone loves Scott, I think, so I knew that would be a fun conversation. Well, come back and see me next time. We'll have another great adventure for you. I want to thank Allison Close and Blue Autumn for becoming my newest Patreons. We'll see you all next time. Have a great night, and goodbye.
Thank you.